Good morning to our Dulwich College Suzhou community. Again, I wish you well, and I come to you this morning with some better news. I'm feeling increasingly optimistic that we will be in a position to get our students back on campus around the turn of the month, and that is a really positive thing. It's an important aspect of the process that everyone completes their quarantine before that happens, but I will come to that later in the video. But I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling optimistic. The noises that we are hearing, the information that we are receiving, is certainly pointing in that direction. So not a definite yet, but certainly absolutely more confident about that becoming the date. Now, why am I confident around that? Because we have very clear information that Chinese local schools will be able to reopen over the next couple of weeks. And we have been given also clear information that we will be not far behind them. Now, of course, the authorities would be more cautious around an international school campus reopening because of the nature of our student body. Our students have been all over the world, whereas the local Chinese school students have remained here for the most part in the city. So that's about a risk management strategy on behalf of the authorities, and of course I absolutely support that. That is just common sense, and I think that taking a cautious approach and ensuring that your child is in the most safe position they can be is of course what we would all want. This week we had to submit our campus reopening preparation plan to the authorities, and I'm very pleased that it was commended as being a high quality piece of work. It included pieces of information around how we will open the campus. It is highly likely that we will be requested by the authorities to stagger the opening of the campus. Now, what that means is that we would absolutely open a senior school first to get our year 13 students in and back on their work, and then that would cascade down through the college with the ducks opening last. Now, I do not have the specific dates of that. They have not yet given us those, but I would say to our families, please be patient around that. It is absolute common sense for our youngest students to be the ones who are back on campus as late as possible in terms of a risk aversion strategy. They are the most difficult to manage in relation to hygiene and close contact with each other. So I think that's a really sensible, cautious approach. So please, Ducks families, be patient with that, but I will absolutely be in contact as soon as I have something concrete. Within our preparation plan, we also submitted clear information around our temperature screening regime, our hygiene practices, our student eating practices at lunchtimes. We will need to stagger our lunch breaks more than we do so at present. At present, we have 2 sittings across the schools, but we will need to have more. And all of that really detailed information will come to you so that you know exactly what is required of your child right before they are asked to return to the campus. One thing that I will share with you that I think is a really important piece of information is that all adults and all children who do enter the campus when we reopen will have to prove their confirmation of quarantine completion or have their code or their slip to prove that they have been in Suzhou throughout the duration of this period. So you can rest assured that your child will not be exposed to anybody who has not completed their mandated quarantine period or has been in the city and deemed not to be a risk. So, families, if you have been in the city throughout the period, I encourage you to either make sure that you have the green code, and obviously that's difficult for children, but I encourage you to go and talk to your management office at your residential community and ask them about a proof of residence in Suzhou throughout the period of this situation. Our understanding is that all compounds and residential communities have a process for that. And getting started now, I think, would be very sensible. I also had a query from families regarding where our students have been throughout this period, because I know that families are concerned around what risk their children will be exposed to. Having just explained that no one will be back on campus until they've fulfilled the quarantine requirements, I also just want to give you an idea that throughout this entire period, just over 50% of our students have remained in China the entire time. A further 30 plus percent were in Korea and or Japan, and another 6% were in other Southeast Asian countries. So 90% of our students have been in and around this time zone throughout the period, and the other 10% are scattered across the globe. We certainly know that there are restrictions placed on travelling from Korea upon entry when people return from Korea and Japan to China at the moment, and we will of course be following the authorities' guidance on how we treat those students and families when they do return to the campus. And the first step, of course, as far as where we're at the moment, the most important and only step is that quarantine. So please, I think it is very sensible, as many of our families are starting to do, to start to make preparations to return to the city. It's beautiful here at the moment. The weather is absolutely glorious. And getting that quarantine underway, I think, is a very sensible step to take. So the good news, further good news, is that because of this information, all of our staff are starting to make their way back to the city. That includes those who have been in China but not in Suzhou, or those who have been abroad. So by late next weekend, possibly the Monday, with some logistical issues, all of our college staff will be back in Suzhou, commencing their quarantine, so that when we are ready to go, we can do so with a full complement of staff. And I think that's a great thing. One of the queries that I had was around parents inquiring about what measures we had taken to support our staff through this process. And the two biggest measures that I feel that we took, which benefited our staff and therefore our students, was to give our staff an opportunity to work remotely from a place where they felt comfortable. And then also, we found throughout the period that there were some staff and who found the dislocation starting to be more challenging as the period ensued, and we relocated a small number of our staff to our Singapore base to support them, and they were then able to work in time zone and feel more comfortable doing so. So, our staff have been excellent. The support that we've provided for them has been excellent, and I'm very proud of how they have gone about this process. I do know that as we re-enter the college, and we are very aware of this and are making preparations for this, that we're going to enter another phase of this challenge, and we are certainly ensuring that we are crossing our T's and dotting our I's with our plans and preparations to make that a smooth process. It is an absolute fact that we are all really keen to get our students back in the college, to get ourselves back to some level of normalcy with our lives. I said to some of our staff the other day, I didn't train and I didn't spend all these years working hard to become an online headmaster. I want to get back in the college just as much as you do. So I see us on the final stretch, and I'm really hopeful that we'll be able to do it in a smooth and very reasonable manner. So patience will be required, reasonableness will be required, and I'm sure that I can rely on my team and also our community to do that in the most positive fashion. Take care. I hope that little bit of positive news is good for you, and hopefully next week I'll have another step to share that will be heading in the right direction. Between now and then, look after yourselves. I'll speak to you soon.